Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Looking at 6 games here on Friday in the NBA. Kind of have a minefield of an injury report once again, as we are wont to do here in this league, especially at this point in the season. So we're going to be dodging all of that. I've got a few picks here, a bunch of player props, and a couple of totals that I'm playing as well tonight. So let's get right into it. Quick reminder while I'm getting there to like and subscribe to that page, like the videos, jump in those comments, and stay tuned for the live stream that we should have today as well. At tipping, we're going to get that going about an hour and a half before the first game's tip. So on the East Coast, 5:30 p.m. for that live stream. Hopefully everybody's off work and we can get into that together. So I'll be bringing some of the stuff that I look at, as well as want to know what you guys are going to have in that live stream. So make sure you're bringing comments if you do have questions about props and even sides and totals. This is the place to find me at 5:30 p.m. on the live stream here. But Clint Capella, we are going to take him over 23.5 points rebounds. Things have been rising in his prop totals here on the lines that we're getting as well, because of the fact that I think people see this as a popular pick against a Utah team that has not been good, especially without Walker Kessler in there. We don't know if he's going to play, and if he does play, I don't know why we would think he's going to play more than 20 minutes at all. So that's why we like Capella to really be dominant, especially on the offensive rebounds. Now, what I'm looking at with him is what he does without Jalen Johnson and Onyeka Okongwu, as they're both likely out. Okongwu's for sure out, and Jalen Johnson has been upgraded to questionable, but I still don't know that he's going to play or get very many minutes, as he's been struggling to come back from an injury. So without them, the two of them in the last 3 games, we're looking at 21.3 rebound chances for Clint Capella, and it's been in games that there's been some worse offense and a bit better defense. Teams like the Cavs, the Knicks, the Grizzlies, even the Trailblazers, and the Pelicans as well. Teams that slow it down. Those are the recent matchups that he's had where he's gotten a ton of these rebound chances, right? Also averaging 13 a game in this instance. So it's at 11.5 rebounds by itself for plus 110. You can take that alone, and I don't hate it. I might add that one to the card before long. Want to check the comments of the video here as well, because I do pin the final bets that I play there. But this one I've already got in at 1 unit. So that one is going to be in. Without Jalen Johnson as well, you look at the minutes, they go up by 3 per game. The points go up from 10 points per game to 13.7. We like that number as well. And then the 11.8 rebounds gets us really close to the 12, but that's why it's plus money, is because it's right on the line of exactly what he does. But he only gets the 9.9 when we don't have Jalen Johnson in there. So that's a really nice stark difference that we like to rely on. And Utah is allowing the 4th most points per game to center. So I was originally looking at just the rebounds, but added the points because of the way that Utah is not defending down low. Plus, the offensive rebounds are huge. That's what they've been giving up a ton of. CC over here has been getting about 4 to 5 offensive rebounds per game over his last 5 games. So we do like him to be able to attack that glass, get those second chance points. Now that Utah really, as once a formidable team down low, defending against centers, has become one of the worst teams at doing so. So we're going to target Clint Capella to start. Now we're going to be looking at the Orlando Magic and Wendell Carter Jr. over 8.5 boards for Carter Jr. And if you want a little ladder to 10, you can get it like plus 110 as well. And I don't hate that. The double-double for him is about plus 200. So, I mean, he's actually at about 11.5 points per game as his prop line, because he's not been doing that quite as much. But the rebounds should be really good against Toronto, who is far and away the worst rebounding team since the All-Star break, and really since they shut down Jakob Poeltl, their only true center. Now you've got Kelly Olynyk in there trying to stop guys like Wendell Carter Jr., who Toronto has allowed the 5th most rebounds per game to his rebounding profile. And I say that because it can be a little bit misleading to just say, well, they allow like the most rebounds per game to centers, which they do over the course of their last 7. But with Wendell Carter Jr., he is a little bit more of a versatile center than just a regular center. He will be guarding, whoever we have out there, Kelly O, right, at this point, because they're both really good matchups for each other. When you talk about Kelly Olynyk's ability to play around the perimeter, what you would worry about with Carter Jr.'s rebounds is that he is guarding Olynyk out on the 3-point line, and as a result, he's got to get out there and is not down low to get those boards. But his rebound chances are still really high over the course of his last basically like 5 to 10 games, however you want to really split those numbers up, because he's been getting about 15.5 rebound chances in those situations in the last 5. 7.5 of these rebounds are contested that he's gathering. So he's getting a ton of boards that are contested. Whereas with Kelly Olynyk, just to sort of put a number on how bad of a rebounder he has been, he's at a career low 14.5% defensive rebounding percentage, and Wendell Carter Jr. has been a complete monster on the offensive glass. Over his last 4 games, he has his average basically has 20 rebounds that are offensive in this situation, which is a very high number, including 7 that he recorded against the New York Knicks. So he's been completely going bananas on the offensive rebounds, which is exactly where you're going to see Toronto struggle. I mean, they give up the most offensive rebounds, they give up the most rebounds in general, and their defensive rebound percentage bottom of the league for good reason. So if Wendell Carter Jr. does get the 27 to 28 minutes that he's been averaging in this game, then I do think he's going to be good for the 15 rebound chances, and we like him to get 9 of those boards with the way that he's just been so much better of a rebounder than Kelly Olynyk when they're going up for contested boards. Third best bet I have for you, Vasilije Micic. I'm sure I'm messing up his first name, but his last name we love to say Micic. Over 11.5 boards, or excuse me, points for the point guard here for Charlotte. I'm putting a half a unit on it because I still want to test out what's happening with Tre Mann when he comes back in the lineup. Now, Tre Mann has been was originally sort of the point guard when these two came over from the Thunder, and now we see Micic really taking on a much more of the role of point guard and Tre Mann a bit more of the shooting guard role. Phoenix is really bad versus point guards, and specifically point guards that are in the pick and roll. We talked about that yesterday when we targeted Derek White and took him over 4.5 assists, which he climbed over in the fourth quarter, even though Drew Holiday was the assist man yesterday with 10 of them in that game for Boston against Phoenix. But Phoenix, either way, is going to be really bad in a situation where Boston, while they were running pick and roll a good amount, Charlotte's going to run it just as much. And Micic is going to be the guy doing it. He leads the team in pick and roll ball handler possessions and points, right? So he is most commonly the ball handler in those pick and rolls, whereas Tre Mann is coming off of screens rather than coming off ball handling screens, right? Phoenix is going to allow the 2nd most points per game to his shot profile. So the assists are a little bit higher, right? They're at 6.5 assists, and I don't hate that. I have him pegged for 7. So I do think he's going over, but I like to have at least another assist gap between what my projection is and what I see coming from this, what I see coming from the books, right? And at 6.5, not quite enough for me to add it. It is 18.5 points and assists combined for Micic. If you wanted to put those together, don't hate that as well. But for now, I've already hit the 11.5 points because I don't want to miss out on that. And I think this is a good bet with the volume of shots that I think he's going to be taking, because once again, he's the pick and roll guy, and Phoenix is giving up a ton of points to that exact play, right? And the ball handler in the pick and roll. And that's really what we've seen from them all season. They've struggled to guard point guards a ton over the course of their last 7. They are giving up, where are they at here? I want to make sure I don't mess this up. They are giving up the 7th most points per game to point guards, and the 4th most assists, the 7th most points per game to point guards on the season, and the 12th most assists as well. So it's like pretty much where they've been at as far as the points go. The assists have been up a little bit against them, and so that seems a little bit more of an outlier than the points, which Micic has been getting the amount of points that this team gives up, right? Like in the month of March, basically, he's got 7 games, and 4 of those are with Tre Mann. He's gone over the points in all 4 of those, and he's gone over the points in 6 of the 7, averaging 15.5 a game. And just as, if not most importantly, we've got the 10.5 field goal attempts for him over these last 4 with Tre Mann. So as long as he's getting the 10.5 attempts, and I do think he's good to hit a couple threes in this one. I believe his 3-point prop is getting like basically 1 or 2 for really bad juice where it's at. So I left that off as well. Something else to look at in the live stream, but this is my favorite part of this bet is the points rather than assists for Micic. So we're going to take him over 11.5. And then go to this Atlanta and Utah game once more, where we already took Clint Capella to get his boards, but we're also going to take points in this one at 222.5. I'm putting a full unit on the over of the total of the game, but I also feel like a little bit of a safety blanket here is going ahead and targeting Utah's team total specifically. Now, I don't know that Atlanta should be favored over anybody in any game, and if you wanted to take Utah in this one, I would support that as well. The problem is I don't even think that Walker Kessler, even if he plays, is going to get 25 minutes. Like he might get 21, 22, and that's where I would cap it at the most, right? It's very likely he plays 18 as well. So without him in there, that does speed things up, but it also means that like Atlanta can kind of slow things down and do what they want a bit more is how I read that. So I do think Utah for the team total. I actually trust their offense more than I trust this Atlanta offense. Now, I think Bogey is playing for Atlanta, so I feel I've got the full unit on the over for the total of the whole game, but I am sprinkling, like I said, putting a half on the Utah one. So for Atlanta, while I think we're getting a bit of value because they played some slow teams recently. I mentioned this in the Clint Capella bit where they played Cleveland, Memphis, New York, New Orleans, and Portland, right? 5 of the slowest teams in the league. and some of the worst offenses over the course of that time. Jalen Brunson was out for Memphis. Everybody's out. Cleveland missing Donovan Mitchell when they played. So there's a lot of guys that have been missing, and bad offenses in general against this Utah team. And they've been able to slow it down a bit more. But normally they would be playing a bit faster. And I think once you come to Utah, that's what you see. You see a very fast pace, and you see games that average 240. I mean, even since the All-Star break, this Utah team is averaging a $120 at home. And I think this home road stuff for them just really needs to be emphasized a bit more in this total. And it's not. And I know that people have dropped this total from 227.5 to 222.5. And I do not care, because I think both of these teams are going to be crashing the crap out of the offensive glass. Both of these teams are terrible in terms of defensive rebounds. Even when Clint Capella has been out there getting boards, a lot of those are offensive, right? They're both in the top 10 in offensive rebound percentage over their last 10 games, and they're both in the bottom 10 in terms of allowing offensive rebound percentage to their opponents. So there's going to be open shots, and then there's going to be second chance points. Open shots, especially because Atlanta's perimeter defense has been atrocious. Their mid-range defense has been atrocious. And so you look at guys like Colin Sexton coming in and scoring, and even Keontae George from above the break, where he's taking a ton of threes, and you've got the Hawks giving up a ton too. So I am eyeing some Keontae George stuff. Might throw him in the comments of the video and pin that before I even get to the live stream today, because I do like Keontae George, and even I like he and Colin Sexton is the problem. I want both. I think both guards are going to be taking I know they are going to be taking the majority of the shots, because Jordan Clarkson is out. That should be made very clear. Without Jordan Clarkson, Keontae George does a lot better. So I would be leaning on him as well. But that is all the time. I want to throw some of the stuff that we've been doing your way, because I forgot to get to the picks recently over the last couple of days I've been doing this. But on Thursday, we were 4-3 because we portioned those units correctly. We put the 1.34 units on Derek White. We made 1.4 back on the day there. 4-1 on the player props. If I had left DeAndre Ayton out, a lot of you probably didn't see it, because I got to him like an hour before that tip for the Knicks and the Blazers. I started to feel really good about his props going under without a guy like Malcolm Brogdon to help him. I thought Scoot Henderson, he was even questionable at one point, so it was kind of like, if there's no point guard in for Ayton, then there's no one that's going to get him the ball. But in reality, Scoot played, got him the ball. Anthony Simons was also a late scratch. Jeremy Grant ended up being a late scratch. I thought Jeremy Grant was going to play. That's also why I took DeAndre Ayton. So everything else was pretty good. We came up with some the Josh Hart bet on the live stream yesterday, so I added it to the card as well, and loved that bet. And then everything else was that we didn't get was really predicated on Dame just getting two threes made instead of 3, even though he had 2 made in the first quarter and couldn't get one more to help us win 2 parlays there that would have made our day look really, really good instead of just good, which I'll always take 1.4 units, right? So on the season, 22.2 up, Playa Props up 30.6. We got some work to do here in the last 15 days or so, 16 days of the month, in order to get to the 40 units that I was really shooting for here for the Player Props on the season by the end of March, right? I wanted to be at 40. So we need to make 10 units on those player props, and we'll get some more bets out. But this is a dangerous slate that I don't love. That's why I kind of made it a little bit less. I didn't throw quite as many props out there. We don't even have as much, but the live stream should help us out. Subscribe to that page if you would. It's very helpful. Jump in those comments. Let me know what you guys are betting. Also come to that live stream and let me know what you guys are betting there, because I want to know. And that's how we found some of these really good bets we've made money off of the last 2 or 3 days. So appreciate you all following along for real. And until I see you next, happy betting.